Hello and welcome to Tiny Table Talk for The Challenge All-Stars Season 3, Episode 7. We got a lot to cover, so let's start off talking about... Now, this week's daily challenge was called Shooting Stars, and it was TJ's favorite game and daily challenge of all time. It's trivia. I have to say that I wasn't a huge fan of this trivia challenge. I thought last season was much better, as you could tell from my review and recap. The answers weren't that funny or ridiculous, I would say, to most of the competitors, and the questions weren't all that, creative in a lot of the ways to ensure that we could get a dumb answer and question. I mean, one of the questions that Veronica got was, what's louder, lightning or thunder? And I get it. You want those softballs to see if people overthink it and possibly say the wrong thing, but come on now. That's like a first grade question. The cream of the crop this trivia challenge was Brad. Brad at least helped deliver some of that stupidity that we're looking for in the trivia challenge. I mean, he couldn't name the Beatles, he couldn't name the Disciples, and he couldn't name the first man to walk on the moon. So I'm happy that Brad was there. I'm happy that he gave us at least one shimmering moment that we can be like, yes, this is what we watched the challenge trivia for. But everybody else who missed a question, I didn't think was ridiculous for missing the question. I mean, Jordan missing that a stop sign is an octagon, and Kellyanne saying tiger instead of a cheetah for being the fastest land animal. I mean, come on, that's no-brainers, but they're not obvious no-brainers or instant classics like we've seen on past challenge seasons, like Johnny Banana saying Dutch, some of Cara Maria's answers in the trivia challenge. I don't know, I just wasn't very inspired. I thought the way they did it last season was much better. Now, I did hear from a source that there was some controversy during last season's trivia challenge. It came down to TJ giving a category. I can't remember what it was. It was like a sports question. I think it was Super Bowl winners, like name a quarterback with multiple Super Bowl wins. I think Steve said somebody like Steve Young, and TJ didn't have Steve Young on his list. So he said that Steve got it wrong, but then when Steve kept on like contending it and was asking and saying like, no, he's won multiple. He just was behind another quarterback. He was on a roster that won another Super Bowl, and then he won it himself. And so there was this discrepancy of like, oh, well, who really won? Well, come to find out, somebody had their phone. They looked it up. Steve Young is definitely a multi-Super Bowl champion. So they had to redo it, which then on the redo, Steve won that trivia challenge. So my thinking is that they didn't feel comfortable coming in doing the same type of trivia challenge because of everything that happened last season. I can understand why they didn't want to go that route, but also you can like make the questions and categories more specific, like name an Oscar-winning actor, Grammy wins, make it challenge related, and you can do those kind of questions. I don't know, there's ways to do it, but you can't be as broad as like a sports team and asking, because you're not going to have every single position on your paper. You need something very specific, very niche, but still broad enough that people would be able to answer the questions. I don't know. To me, after last season's trivia challenge, I just thought this one was pretty meh, in my opinion. But what do you think about this season's trivia challenge? Let me know down in the comment section below. So I want to talk about the preview to next episode. In the preview to next episode, we see that Naya is not having a good time. She doesn't want to jump out of a helicopter. We know she has this fear of heights. And now that Jordan's gone, she may not feel like she's totally in this game. So it looks like she pulls herself, and the way the edit makes it look, it makes it seem like maybe next week is a purge challenge. I doubt it. I don't think that there is a purge challenge. Now, my theory is that in this past week's episode, we had everybody at the party doing the sack races, doing the beer pong, doing all this different fun stuff, and then we see Kayla and Veronica laughing on the couch, talking about how Veronica fell down the stairs. She fell down like 3 steps, she said, and she wasn't wearing very supportive shoes. She was running to get pizza. They were all giggly. Maybe they had a few drinks. Well, then we get a close-up of Veronica's ankle. My thought process is they wouldn't show that for no daggone reason. My theory is that next week isn't a purge challenge because we're only going into episode 8. There's 5 men left and 5 women left. They can't really do a purge challenge and then also on top of that have possibly another elimination for episode 9 unless the final is so big that they have to have 2 full episodes to run the final, which I doubt it. It is All Stars. So in my opinion, TJ is letting Veronica know at the beginning of the Daily Challenge next episode that after looking at her ankle, after possibly going to the hospital and having it checked out there, and that she will have to medically be pulled from the game. That sucks so bad. I mean, you're at episode 8, and she could be possibly medically DQ'd. It just sucks because you don't want to see anybody, first of all, get medically DQ'd at all during a season. You would rather see them play it out, get eliminated via elimination. But with the foreshadowing of the ankle, the zoom in on the ankle, and then TJ saying, "I'm sorry, but your time here is ended. You can no longer compete." I just have a feeling that it's going to be Veronica being said that her ankle, she can't run on her ankle, or she might have a tiny fracture in her ankle. I just think that it's going to be more so for Veronica getting medically DQ'd because of her ankle than, say, Naya being purged. But what do you think? Do you think it is because Naya may not do the next daily challenge, or do you think it's because of Veronica's ankle? Why do you think that it was shown? I just think that from reading the edit, that's exactly what it is. But maybe you have a different theory. Let me know down in the comment section below. Now let's hand out some gold stars from this past week's episode. And the 2 gold stars that I'm going to hand out are going to be for Mark and Veronica, 2 OGs of the challenge game. Now I give one of my gold stars to Mark, not just because he won the elimination against a very tough competitor in Jordan, and not just because he got 2nd place in this past week's daily challenge. I'm giving my gold star to Mark, mainly because when Derek came up to him and said, "I'm thinking about putting in Nehemiah," and Mark decided to say, "No, you gotta swing big. We're getting too late in this game. You should put in either Wes or Jordan." And Derek was like, "But somebody might pick you. He might pick you." And Mark was like, "I don't care. There's a shot that Jordan, once gets thrown in, he'll pick Wes. And we need to take out one of those 2 players before we make it into the finals." And I love this mentality. Even with his name possibly coming up, his butt being on the line, Mark said, No, we're not taking the quote-unquote easy route here, Derek. I want you to put in Jordan, and if I get called, so be it. And on the flip side, Veronica won this week's daily challenge, not missing a single question, getting into power, making deals, and then capitalizing on those deals by not throwing in Ronnie or Kellyanne, but throwing in a huge threat in John A. It's at this point where it's do or die. You gotta take the shots. It's like we were saying through the Challenge 37. If you're not gonna take a shot at CT at least once, then what's the point? You're kind of just like giving into the fact that, okay, yeah, we'll just let you walk to the finals. I loved Veronica taking this shot, throwing John A in, and at least taking the shot of trying to get out last year's champ before the finals. Now it's time to read some comments from my Wednesday's review and recap, and the first comment comes from Castor Troy, who says, "This episode just showed that Ronnie really isn't part of the alliance, but more of a +1 of the group. This might be my least favorite episode because of that elimination, most anticlimactic elimination ever, LOL. The elimination wasn't that great, I'll be honest. The eliminations this season have been pretty subpar, in my opinion. But I agree with you. This whole time, I was like, oh, Ronnie's in good with the Treehouse Alliance. I'm so happy that she's getting in good with a group and making it very far into this game. The way that they were talking throughout the whole season, I thought that they were a very tight-knit group. But this whole episode just showed that they never really talked game. Maybe they were catching up personally, but they never talked game. And Ronnie was actually worried about being voted in by Veronica, and I think Veronica was even thinking about possibly throwing Ronnie in. It was such a weird turn of events to think, oh, this is going to be a solid alliance. Turn to, well, it's realistically Veronica, Kayla, and Sylvia, and Jemmy, and Ronnie's around. This was a weird way to kind of like find out that Ronnie wasn't necessarily a part of the alliance. especially when we get to the point where once eliminated from the daily challenge, going like, well, I know where I stand in the alliance and now I have to worry about myself. I'm like, this is episode 7. This is too late. You're too late to be cutting deals. You're on the line. Chris comes in with a comment saying, if one of the trivia questions was about Hercules and Antaeus, Jordan would have fared better. So long, cowboy. That is true. I mean, he does have a tattoo. I didn't know, I'll be honest, I didn't know where he was going with that speech at first, but he kind of got there at a certain point. The next comment comes from FL Boy Can Scrap saying, strike trivia sucks. At least nobody got knocked out before they could even get a question. That is true. But I do agree. Strike trivia is not my favorite. At least it wasn't Double Agents True or False, because to me, that was one of the most boring trivia challenges ever. Jose M coming in with a comment saying, not gonna lie, my number 1 Jordan is out, and that sucks. But also notice how he didn't complain, cussed, or brought up his hand as an excuse. Congratulated the Godfather and showed good sportsmanship. My boy. Sucks that he is out though. I'll be sad till next week's episode. Yeah, Jordan, I was worried to be at a super disadvantage going into this elimination, but I was happy that he actually got his puzzle pieces not too long after Mark. At least that's what the edit showed. And from the edit, it looked like he had a good amount of time to work on that puzzle and possibly had an opportunity to win. I really like Jordan this season, more so than some of his past seasons that I've watched him in. And yeah, I loved when he called out Derek when after Mark won and Mark came over to congratulate him. Like, Mark had his moment of being like, yeah, let's go. And then he went over to Jordan, congratulated him, said he loved him. And then Jordan turned around and was like, you see, Derek, this is how you win. This is how a champion wins. I loved it. I loved when Jordan pointed that out. Fatal Calamities says, wrong Armstrong, Brad. Yeah, well, he had all the wrong Beatles too. And then you know what? I don't think he actually said Martha in the confessionals. He tried to say Mark and Matthew at the same time, like he was trying to like say Matthew. I just said it. He was trying to say Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, but his brain kind of melded in Mark and Matthew, so he said Marthew, and then the producer said Martha, but either way, it was a really funny moment. Krista Lee comes in with a comment saying, so in the teaser for the next episode, I think Veronica may have to medically DQ because she fell down the stairs this episode, and from the video, it looks like her toes were jacked up. Just a very strong hunch. I see we're on the same wavelength there, Krista. Like, why else would they even made the cut by the producers? If that happens, they better bring Ronnie back or I will riot. I would love to see Ronnie be introduced back into the game. I wonder though if they would even do that at this point. It is episode 8 that we're coming into, very late into the game, but you're kind of missing an elimination, because if Veronica leaves and then we do the daily challenge and then we get to the elimination, we kind of know that there's not going to be a women's elimination that episode, right? Like, they can't send another woman home if Veronica gets medically DQ'd and they don't bring Ronnie back. I think that they should bring Ronnie back. I just don't think that they're gonna do it. Joseph J comes in with a comment saying, the funniest moment for me is when Derek was asked to name Kanye and Kim's children. He says Blue Ivy. Like, really? Blue Ivy? But yeah, when he said Blue Ivy, I'm like, not even close. I loved when TJ was like, I'm just gonna give you an X right now. like when he asked the question and then looked at the answer, he was like, I'm just gonna give you an X right now. Nicholas comes in with a comment saying, I absolutely loved Ronnie. I feel like we didn't get to see enough of her and her potential, so I really hope to see her back. You and me both, Nicholas. I think Ronnie is just getting back into the challenge flow, kind of like Cynthia. I would love to see Cynthia and Ronnie back for another All-Stars season. I think that they still have a lot left to give in this game, and I just think we saw flashes of what Ronnie could bring to the challenge game, like the ring toss game where she took out John A just like that. She was starting to find her rhythm in some of the daily challenges. The next comment comes from Anthony P, who says, with Wes and Jordan's history and the fact that Jordan didn't call out Wes or Nehemiah into elimination makes me to believe they were secretly working with each other, especially after seeing the clip earlier this season that they were talking game to each other. Also, if you remember the sack race, Jordan and Wes were like in the same sack and they were like hugging each other and laughing. I know Nehemiah actually got really close with Jordan over this past season. I think I saw an interview or an Instagram live or something where he talked about he really likes Jordan. He got really close with Jordan within the house. So I think Jordan and Nehemiah were actually way closer than whatever the edit was actually showing, which the edit hasn't been showing any of Nehemiah. But I think Jordan was actually getting in good with a lot of the house. And I do think that Wes would have friends all over the game, even with Jordan. I think that theory is true, that they were working together throughout the season. It was just more of a lowdown because they do have really big targets on their backs, having like 5 championships between the two of them. And the final comment comes from Caramel Cookie, that does sound delicious right now, who says, they really need to tell us what the stars are about. At this point, I have no clue what the stars are about. It has something to do with the final, though, because we are 7 episodes, about to be 8 episodes into this game, and we still have 0 information about these daggone stars. All I know is that Mark has 3, John A has 3, Wes has 2, and Derek has 4. It has something to do with the finals. Like TJ at the beginning of the finals will tell everybody to look down at their shirts. You've been collecting stars all season via the eliminations. This is what they're for. This is what's going to happen. This is your advantage for having more stars in the game. Congratulations for taking the risk. Congratulations for going into an elimination, taking out somebody that has all those stars. And now this is your advantage. Either a time advantage or getting to use them to skip a certain phase or be able to use something in the finals, something to that effect. But yeah, I want to know what these stars are for. I don't like to have all these question marks still this far into the game. I mean, we only have like 2 or 3 episodes left of this season. So I guess we'll have to wait and see, like we have been, to know about these stars. But that is it for this week's Tiny Table Talk. What do you think about this Challenge All-Stars 3 episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What is your theory about who is leaving? Could it be Veronica being medically DQ'd? Could it be a purge challenge? Let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think about who I gave my gold stars to, which was Veronica and Mark? And if you would give your gold star to anybody in this game, who would you give it to? Let me know that as well. Who are you rooting for that is left in this game, and who do you want to fail? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity, and thank you to everyone who is still watching this video up to this point. I really, really appreciate it. I'll be back really, really soon with more Challenge All-Star content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.